Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih al-Khatim wa ala alihi akadiyam daril azim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. I'm back on my series of lectures on the topic Reflection on the verses of the Holy Qur'an. If you can remember, in the last session, we were discussing the story of Moses the prophet and Moses the Samari, or Moses the Samarian. That is how Moses the Samarian misled the Israelites into paganism, while they have never ever practiced it before, and how Moses the prophet and how Moses was handed down the Torah written on the tablets, and how he was informed by the Almighty Allah of the new development after he left his people, what happened to them after he departed them. And having received the message, when he came back, when he saw them in the real act of paganism, he couldn't hold himself. He threw away the tablets out of fury and anger. He was so much exasperated. The Almighty Allah narrated this tension, that is the furious outburst of Prophet Moses, how he threw away the tablets. The Almighty Allah said in the chapter Al-Araf, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, wa alqal alwaha. That is, the Almighty Allah said, فَلَمَّا رَجَعَ مُوسَى إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ غَضْبَانَ أَسِفًا قَالَ بِئْسَ مَا خَلَفْتُمُونِي مِنْ بَعْدِي أَعْجِلْتُمْ أَمْرَ رَبِّكُمْ وَأَلْقَى الْأَلْوَاحَ وَأَخَذَ بِرَأْسِ أَخِيهِ يَجُرُّهُ إِلَيْهِ قَالَ ابْنَ أُمَّ إِنَّ الْقَوْمَ اسْتَضْعَفُونِي وَكَادُوا يَقْتُلُونَنِي فَلَا تُشْمِتْ بِي الْأَعْدَاءَ وَلَا تَجْعَلْنِي مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. The Almighty Allah said, when Moses came back to his people, was so much exasperated and furious when he saw them in the real act of paganism, worshipping the golden calf. Out of fury and anger, he shouted at them, "Bi'sa ma khalaftumuni min ba'di." Evil is what you initiated after my departure. That is, you come up with a new criminal act that had no precedence in the history of the Israelites, because they had never worshipped an idol before. But here they are reduced to polytheists and idolaters by Musa the Samarian. So he shouted and caught hold with the head of his brother. He shook him violently and shouted at him, saying, he shouted at him and said, فلما رجع موسى إلى قومه غضبان آسفا فرجع موسى إلى قومه قال يا قوم ألم يعدكم ربكم وعدا حسنا أفطال عليكم العهد أم أردتم أن يحل عليكم غضب من ربكم فعلتم موعدي قالوا ما أكلنا موعدك يا ملكنا ولكننا من أزام زيت وذلك السامري قالوا ولا تجعل مع القوم الظالمين. So his brother responded, saying, Yabna Umma, O the son of my mother, in an attempt to arouse the brotherly feeling in Moses. That's why he didn't say, oh my brother. He rather said, oh the son of my mother. Because a brother with whom you share the same mother tend to be more caring and tend to show more mercy to you than the brother you share only a father with, or even a brother, a full-blood brother. So the brother with whom you share the same mother tend to be more compassionate, and he shows greater mercy than any other brother. That's why he called him, oh, the son of my mother, Yabna Umma, Innal Qawma Sadafuni. The people of Israelites despised me. Wakadu Yaktiluni, they almost killed me in the cause of preventing them from worshipping the golden calf. They attacked me, they assaulted me, they almost killed me. Please don't embarrass me in their face. Don't embarrass me in the face of enemies. Don't charge me with the crime of polytheists. Don't count me among them, because I did my best to stop them, but they wouldn't hear. They wouldn't listen to me. So at this point, Moses' exasperation went down, and he got relieved of his fury. He turned to the Almighty Allah praying, Oh my Lord, I pray for your forgiveness for myself and my brother Aaron, and admit us into your infinite mercy, into your mercy which is infinite. Wa anta arhamur rahim, you are the best of those who showed mercy. So the question here is that, who is Musa the Samarian? Who is Moses the Samarian? That is the other Moses who misled the Israelites and invented the crime of polytheism and paganism among the Israelites. Who is he? How was he born? If you can remember, in the last session we did mention that the entire story of Moses the Samarian and Moses the prophet is so much miraculous, and it is quite paradoxical, because Moses the Samarian was born out of wedlock, as we did mention in the last session. He was born out of wedlock, that is, he was a bastard. His mother, out of shame, threw him into a cave. She went and put him in a cave and ran away for the fear of shame. And at that point, the Almighty Allah, because he had the intention of testing the Israelites with this baby boy who was born out of wedlock, he sent a whole lot angel, not only a common angel. In fact, the leader of the angels, Angel Gabriel himself, was dispatched by the Almighty Allah to go and nurse and raise this bastard boy. Yes, it may surprise you, I know. How would the Almighty Allah send an angel to take care of a bastard boy? He did. The Almighty Allah would never be questioned for whatever he did. La yus'alu amma yaf'al wa hum yus'alun. Inna rabbaka fa'alun lima yurid. Fa'alun lima yurid. The Lord can in no way be questioned by anybody for whatever he did. Rather, he is the one in a position to ask anybody what he did. After all, he is the Lord of all. He is the creator of all. as free to do whatever he wanted to do. So out of his free will, he dispatched Angel Gabriel to take care of Moses the Samaritan, who was born out of wedlock. He bore the same name with Moses the prophet. But for him, he was an unbeliever. Originally, in fact, he was a bastard, as I said. So, Angel Gabriel was the one bringing him milk and taking care of him up to the point he attained the age of manhood. That is why, because of that, he was accustomed to seeing angels. So he knew them. Whenever he saw one of them, he used to recognize that this is an angel. Despite all this, he was an unbeliever. I know that too will surprise you. How somebody, not only was he raised by angels, but he could see them while other common human beings couldn't see them. Then how would he turn out to be an unbeliever? How is it possible? I know it is quite, it may sound complex and paradoxical, but it is not. You know why? Remember, the first unbeliever in the entire history of the kingdom of creation was the devil himself. The devil was not only familiar with angels, but he was in their companion. Well, he was in their company. He was in the same fellowship with angels. Remember? He was in the fellowship with angels when the Almighty Allah commanded them to fall down in prostration to Adam, and he refused. Then he was cast away. He was sent down and cursed by the Almighty Allah. So seeing angels does not guarantee somebody to be a believer. After all, the devil's story started when he was in the presence of angels, when he was considered one of them. In fact, it was even a matter of disagreement between jurists and scholars, Quranic exegetes, whether the devil was originally an angel or he was merely a jinn. Some of them said that he was an angel because if he was not one of them, there was no point saying that when angels were commanded to fall down in prostration to Adam, that he too was meant with that command. After all, if he was not an angel, in what way was he included in the command? Because the command was clear. Angels were mentioned. The Almighty Allah did not say that everybody should fall down in prostration to Adam. Rather, he mentioned angels. He didn't say lil malaikati wal jinni. Neither did he say lil malaikati wa iblisa. Lil malaikati isjudu li Adam. Recall remembrance when we said to angels that prostrate to Adam. To angels, meaning that anyone outside this membership, angelic membership, is not meant with that order. So in what way the devil was meant if he was not one of them? That means he too was angel, according to some scholars. But those who maintained that he was not supported their argument with the verse of the chapter Surah Al-Kahf, where the Almighty Allah said, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, wa iz qulna lil malaikati isjudu li Adam fasajadu illa iblisa kana minal jinni fafasaka an amri rabbih." Call to remembrance when the Almighty Allah commanded angels fall down in prostration to Adam. They all did as they were bidden, with the exception of the Iblis. Kana min al-jinni, though he was originally one of jinns, meaning that he was not an angel. Fafasaka an amri rabbih. He only enjoyed the honorary fellowship, that is angelic fellowship. He was honored to be in the same fellowship with angels while he was not one of them. So if Moses the Samaritan was able to see the angel while he was not a believer, that means it is not something uncommon, because it did happen to the devil himself. He was a fellow among the angelic kingdom before he was cast and cast down. So you can see this. With this, you can understand that it is possible. The Almighty Allah deliberately sent the angel to take care of Moses the Samaritan, so as to test the Israelites with him, to use him as an instrument of test. And he did. Yes, he did, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that was how the Samaritan became an instrument with whom the Almighty Allah tested the power of faith of the Israelites. And most of them failed. Very few of them passed the test, because he was able to convince many of them to worship the golden calf instead of the Almighty as their God. He even claimed that Moses missed his way to this golden calf. The golden calf is God. Because it is golden, so they were drawn to it. The fact that it is golden, and they have this attachment to anything golden, so they fell for this claim. But of course, quite a number of them abstained from this idolatry and polytheism under the leadership of their prophet Aaron. But many fell in the trap of Moses the Samaritan. So Moses challenged the Samaritan, "Why did you do all this? Why did you mislead my people? Why did you introduce polytheism among the Israelites, a practice they had never indulged in the past? They had never worshipped an idol before. Why did you do that?" Instead of saying, "I am sorry," or to repent to the Almighty Allah, he was very honest with Moses. He told him unequivocally and clearly why he misled his people. He said, the Almighty Allah narrated in the Holy Qur'an, he said, قَالَ بَصُرْتُ بِمَا لَمْ يَبْصُرُوا بِهِ فَقَبَضْتُ قَبْضَةً مِّنْ أَثَرِ الرَّسُولِ فَنَبَذْتُهَا وَكَذَلِكَ سَوَّلَ لِي نَفْسِي. Remember, in the past I told you how the Israelites borrowed the ornaments of the Egyptians before their departure. That is, on the eve of their departure, they borrowed the golden ornaments of the Egyptians. Their women, the Israelites' women, borrowed the golden ornaments of the Egyptians. So because of that, when they followed them in the night, when Moses was commanded by God to depart with the Israelites in the night, in the dead of the night, from Egypt, and to leave the Egypt for Jerusalem, to leave the Egypt on their way to the promised land. So Pharaoh pursued them with a troop consisted of more than 1 million men, well-equipped troops of over 1 million strength. He pursued them. So when they arrived at the sea was in front of them. Pharaoh, with well-equipped troops of more than 1 million men in their back, pursuing them. So they turned to Moses, crying, "Oh Moses, we are being hit here at the center because we can't go further. We are in the front of the sea. Neither can we turn back because Pharaoh is there to dwell on us and crush us. He has the power to crush us with over 1 million men." Moses said, "No, my Lord will guide me out. Don't worry." At that point, the Almighty Allah inspired Moses, sent him an inspiration to use his staff to strike the sea, and that is how the sea was parted into 12 ways for them to pass through. And they did. They passed through the sea miraculously. And the sea was open wide for the Pharaoh and his people to come in. When they saw the sea open wide, some of them deluded themselves into believing that the sea itself recognized the power and majesty of Pharaoh. That's why it opened so wide. But the mount on which Pharaoh was riding was able to have the premonition that it is a distraction from the Almighty Allah. And that was how Angel Gabriel came to lead the mount of Pharaoh into the sea. And when he came to pass, Moses the Samaritan, remember I said he was raised and bred by Angel Gabriel, so he was able to see the angel. He took a sand full of his hand from the footsteps, from the traces of Angel Gabriel, because he knew for sure that when you take a sand on which an angel stepped on and you throw it on any inanimate creature, that inanimate creature is bound to come alive instantly. It's bound to become alive and it can shake its body and it can make sounds. No matter how, even if it is a stone, if you throw any sand on which an angel step on, or pass on it, or step on it, and you throw it on any inanimate creature, that inanimate creature is bound to start moving and start making sound. Moses Samaritan knew of that. So he took the sand on which the angel stepped on and he kept it with it. And he was able to pass along with Moses. Why? One may ask. Yes, sometimes it's very good to be curious. It pays, because you know by being curious. So why was he allowed to pass, having known that he was not a believer? Why? Scholars said the reason why he was able to pass and was able to be delivered along with the Israelites, despite the fact that he was not a believer, was that because he used to wear clothes like Moses. He used to wear the turban and go to Pharaoh. He used to go to Pharaoh at his time of leisure to entertain him. And, you would just pose as Moses. If you would just like to entertain Pharaoh and pose himself as Moses so as to entertain him and make him laugh. That, look, I am Prophet Moses. I am sent by God. So I will show you my miracle now. Throw away a staff, that the staff will turn into a cobra. So Pharaoh will laugh. So that used to serve Pharaoh as means of entertainment. But because the Almighty Allah does not joke with his creatures, because he used to come out in the outlook of a prophet. So that was why that was not taken for granted by the Almighty Allah. That was how he was delivered because of that. Despite the fact that he did it with evil intention, but the sea had to give respect to Moses to get him delivered because of that. And that was how he got delivered. Secondly, and most importantly, the Almighty Allah wanted to use him as an instrument to test the Israelites. And that is why he was delivered. Because for him to accomplish that is the assigned role, the Almighty Allah assigned for him to test the power of the faith of the Israelites. He had to be delivered for him to test them. So that's how he was delivered along with them. So when they passed through the sea, when they got delivered, and Moses told them that now he told them, although when they came, they passed by some idol worshippers. When they saw them, they asked Moses, can't you get us our own idol so that we can worship it? Moses said, A'udhu Billah. Glorified be God. Why would you degenerate to the level of idol worshiping. Why? Because they were used to serving Pharaoh, and Pharaoh was no more. He was destroyed. So if somebody is used to serving his master, when the master is no more and the time of service is due, he cannot hold himself. He can tell you that I want to go and serve as I used to, even if the service is no longer required, because now it has become part of him. He can't do without serving. So Moses told them that no, there is no need. In fact, the practice of idolatry is the most debased practice ever. Don't ever think of that. So that is how he told them that the Almighty Allah promised him a scripture, but before the appointment of God, he need to fast for 30 days, then for him to prepare for the appointment, and he did. Having finished fasting for 30 days, he washed his mouth with the intention of going to converse in communion with God. And the Almighty Allah asked him, why did you wash your mouth? He said, well, because I know whoever fasts for such a long period of time, his mouth is bound to be odorous. So I need to wash my mouth so as to prepare for conversation with you, my Lord. The Almighty Allah said, don't you realize that the remnant in the mouth of those fasting is dearer to me than any scent or any scent ever? So then misk is one special scent. So go and add 10 more days of fasting. Moses went and fasted for another round of 10 days, that is for 10 more days, after which he was fit for the conversation with the Almighty. And he went for the appointment. In his absence, before he left, he appointed Aaron to be in charge of the people of the Israelites. He admonished him, he cautioned him that he should be very careful, should make sure that everything goes well. After his departure, Moses family advised them. They said, well, now you borrowed the ornaments, the golden ornaments of the Egyptians before your departure. If you die without you returning such ornaments to them, the Almighty Allah will ask you in the hereafter. And they are no more. How can you return to them their ornaments when they are no more? They were destroyed in the sea. So what do we do now? He suggested for them to dig a big hole and throw all the ornaments therein and bury them there, so that they can at least, they will not die while holding things that do not belong to them. So they did as he suggested for them, having dug the hole, and they threw all the ornaments. Samiri came with that sand he picked, remember? That sand on which Angel Gabriel stepped. He used that sand and threw on the ornaments, and he ordered the ornaments to turn into a live calf, a golden calf, moving and making sound. So that is how he showed them that golden calf moving and making sound. He told them that this is your God. Moses missed his way to him. This is your God. So Moses missed his own way. So come and worship it. And some of them accepted, and they started worshiping the calf. Aaron tried his best to stop them, but they overpowered him. They almost killed him, as he said. I will stop here. When I come back, inshallah, I will continue exactly where I stopped. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, al-Fatih lima ughliq, wal-Khatim lima sabaq, Nasir al-Haqq bil-Haqq, wal-Hadi ila siratikal mustaqim, wa ala alihi haqqa qadri al-azim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin.